It's a familiar location, but a brand new venue. The Detroit Grand Prix has been a staple most every year on the calendar since the 80s. First downtown, then on Belle Isle since 1992, and now back a few miles west in the Motor City. Racing around GM's headquarters, the Renaissance Center. Ahead of tomorrow's IndyCar Chevrolet Grand Prix, it's future IndyCar stars in Indy NXT by Firestone and the Detroit Grand Prix. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today with NBC Sports on Peacock. I'm Kevin Lee along with Charlie Kimball. It's the first of two this weekend, one of two doubleheaders this season. Round 4 of 14. The weather, it's warm, no chance of rain. Low 80s today, up to upper 80s. Charlie, first, what challenges are awaiting these drivers at a brand new venue with concrete walls?
I think it's more about what challenges aren't they facing. It is a lot of concrete walls, a lot of concrete surface. It's rough, it's tight. We've seen a lot of red flags, both in Indy NXT sessions as well as in IndyCar and the other series that are racing this weekend. I think a lot of it's going to be about getting to the end of the races.
Let's get down to the grid and welcome in Georgia Henneberry.
Afternoon from beautiful Detroit. Charlie and Kevin, I'm here with Louis Foster. Louis, first and foremost, double pole this weekend for the doubleheader on the streets here of Detroit. How were you able to do it, especially with that left rear toe link broken through qualifying?
I mean, Andretti gave us an amazing car. We worked hard before this weekend, tried to research the track as much as we could, see what we could find out. But yeah, just put the laps together. Obviously, the second quali was a bit more fun, but yeah, you know, the job now is to just try and translate those poles to wins.
How important is starting position on a course like this?
Yeah, I think very important. It's going to be very tricky to overtake. It's very bumpy offline, so we'll see what happens. Again, no one's raced here. We don't know what the tires are going to do during the race, so yeah, we're just going to play it by ear. Hopefully get a clean start and hope for not many safety cars, but we'll see.
That is Louis Foster on the pole for race 1 and 2 here on the streets of Detroit. Charlie, Kevin?
Yeah, race 1 was your normal quick lap, but race 2, he slapped the wall late in qualifying, and he was not fastest at that point. And Charlie, he stayed with it and went better.
I cannot believe that he was able to get his fastest lap. Look at how much that left rear wishbone is bent. Not a little bit, that's a lot. He was chasing that car in a straight line and still goes out and lays down a pole speed lap.
Very impressive. All right, let's take a look at this 9-corner layout, just under 1.7 miles.
And just like in Nashville and Mid-Ohio, the start line is a different spot than the finish line. It's that long straight along Jefferson Avenue is where the starts and restarts will be happening. Comes into that really tight hairpin, kind of a double apex hairpin in turn 3, and a lot of elevation here. You come out of turn 1, up the hill to turn 2. That left-hander, that 90-degree corner, so important for the long run. This hairpin corner is going to be a lot of passing. Any passing that's going to happen, I think, is going to be down into turn 3, and real downhill through this section. This turn 6, turn 7, chicane right left. It's a little bit up over a crest and then a long run down the hill towards the finish of the lap.
As street tracks go, there is a significant amount of elevation change.
I was shocked that all the streets that run down towards that Detroit Riverwalk area, big downhill, and then coming back up to Jefferson Avenue, it's a lot of uphill, which is atypical for street circuits. Usually there's very little, if any, elevation change.
It's a brand new event, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I think a lot of the IndyCar paddock is anxiously watching. We might have our largest Peacock audience for an Indy NXT race because they want to see how the start of this race is going to go. Let's look at how the championship stands right now. Christian Rasmussen is in front, expanded that gap from 5 to 18 points after the Indianapolis round.
You know, Nolan Siegel's really impressed me. He's a young driver, a rookie in the series. He's come out, had some really good results, been pretty consistent. The fact that he's sitting second in the championship, I don't know that it's a shock to anyone, but it's definitely a surprise that after 3 races, he is right there in it.
Well, what really stands out too, also looking at this, is Matteo Nannini, who was tied for 17th going into IMS, gets a win. Now all of a sudden he's 4th in the championship. And right there, he came in with big accolades, winning an F3 race in the FIA F3 ladder and got off to a rough start, but showed the pace that he has. But then also it's a reminder of how challenging this series is, because he's going to start in the back in both of these races this weekend. And the championship is still very wide open. We're 3 rounds in, but there are a lot of points on offer. Double header weekend. Qualifying is already complete for race 2. We'll talk about that as we go. Drivers are strapped in, and we're just about ready to get things started here in Detroit. Engines fired. And 19 INDY NXT machines ready to race around downtown Detroit. Multiple surface changes. What do we have here?
Lots of asphalt to concrete, concrete to asphalt, curbs, walls, runoffs.
Some new concrete, some new asphalt, and then some that's aged a little bit. A lot of challenges.
And a unique perspective with that pit lane for sure.
Here's how they line up today. In the front row, Louis Foster, last year's champion in USF Pro 2000 with his 3rd pole. Hunter McElroy, the highest returning championship finisher, 3rd in points last year, his 2nd straight front row start.
On row 2, it's all HMD. Reese Gold, his best qualifying of the year, looking to bounce back from a rough Indianapolis Grand Prix. And Nolan Siegel running 4th. He's graduating high school next weekend.
Row 3 has the championship leader, Christian Rasmussen. He's got a win this year on the road course at Barber. And Rasmus Lind, who finished 8th in his debut for Hunkos Hollinger after changing teams and missing a round.
And on row 4, Josh Green and Jagger Jones. Josh Green's been consistent all year in that Zimperium machine, just looking for consistency to build on as a rookie. And Jagger Jones, he got to drive Old Calhoun last weekend at the Indy 500. See if that helps him this weekend.
Best start for Jagger in row 5. Kiffin Simpson, who's coming off a podium at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Jacob Abel had a podium on the previous street course race in St. Pete.
Jacob Abel definitely thought there was more speed in that car. And on row 6, Inam Ahmed inside of row 6. He was 4th in Alabama. He's had good pace at the first race on the streets of St. Pete. Colin Kaminsky, they're at the back of the pit lane. Felt like he missed some laps in qualifying because of that positioning.
James Rowe in the Top Con car finished 5th at Barber, and Ernie Francis Jr., who has had results of 6th and 8th so far this season, back after missing IMS after wrist surgery.
And Jamie Chadwick inside of row 8 spent a lot of time on a timing stand during the month of May at the Indy 500. And last Indy NXT race winner, Matteo Nannini on the outside of row 8 for Junkos Hollinger Racing.
Daniel Frost in row 9 won the previous street race. He won the season opener at St. Petersburg. Christian Bogle's best finish this season is 7th.
And then finally on row 10, Toby Sowery, really experienced Indy NXT driver, qualifying yesterday, apparently smacked the wall 3 times, pretty significantly each time.
We mentioned Ernie Francis Jr. is back after having to sit out the IMS round. He went into that tied for 4th in the championship, so he's dropped back quite a bit. Just a few moments ago, Georgia caught up with Ernie.
Francis Jr. is going to roll off in that 14th position. First and foremost, welcome back to the series. Ernie Francis Jr. sitting out in Indianapolis due to a wrist injury. So first and foremost, how's the wrist?
You know, feeling pretty good. You know, I was going into this weekend trying to stay really positive, not really knowing how I was going to feel getting back in the car. You know, spent some time back at home on the sim. You know, it's about 4 weeks out from surgery, so starting to feel pretty decent, but didn't really have an idea of how it was going to be until we turned some laps here. But doing pretty good. You know, spirits are high. Pain isn't too high, which is pretty good around this place. This place has a lot of character. It's bumpy, so you know, it's definitely putting my wrist through its paces. But feeling pretty decent. You know, had a okay first qualifying, starting 14th. Didn't get the fast lap that I wanted, but you know, pretty decent qualifying for tomorrow's race. So overall, pretty happy. You know, pumped to be back out here, back in the car again. Just happy to be on the racetrack.
Well, welcome back, and that's Ernie Francis Jr. He'll roll off 14th, guys.
He said he only had about 70 to 80% movement coming into the weekend, so I think all things considered, he's going pretty well. All right, we're getting set to go. Remember, they're starting between turns 2 and 3. This is more than 7/10 of a mile, looking all the way down to that hairpin. Indy NXT by Firestone, racing on the streets of Detroit, looking for the green flag, lined up with Foster and McElray on the front row. Golden Seagull, row 2. Let's go from Motown. Foster gets the early jump, single file right behind him. Side by side, back in the pack, heading into this 35-mile-an-hour zone, and Foster gets turned around from behind. McElray might have got into him. We are yellow right from the go, and the pole sitter is backwards.
Louis Foster, nothing he could have done there getting set up. Trying to figure out if he can get that damaged car for Andretti Autosport back to pit lane. Oh, what a heartbreak to start this. I am sure race control is going to look at that start anytime the pole sitter gets run into. And it's pretty obvious evidence there. The 27 car, his teammate, Hunter McElray.
And you see the shake of the head from Foster, who had a rough start to this season, not necessarily from him.
That's Christian
damage
Rasmussen.
for Christian Rasmussen, the championship leader, is going to need a new front wing and is rolling into this very unique pit lane. And it looks like that left front tire is down too. And Foster's out of the car.
What heartbreak. We thought this race might create some chaos early. Lots of IndyCar teams and drivers, I'm sure, are watching this as well. Seeing how it looks. Kevin Simpson for that HMD with Chip Ganassi racing car in pit lane as well. We'll get another look at the restart, or the start here. It is Louis Foster coming down to the brakes. Hunter McElray tugged right up behind. Maybe just didn't have quite enough downforce. Gets into the back of Louis Foster, turns him into the wall, ends his teammate's day.
You're trying to anticipate when the car in front of you is going to brake. And either McElray couldn't get it stopped, or Foster got on the brakes earlier than McElray expected. This will be a good view from Rasmussen's car right here on board. And a little bit of a look.
Checks up in front of him, and he is Velcroed to the back of that Reese Gold car in front of him, breaking his front wing.
Well, he also made some contact with the car on his outside, Siegel, too. So we expected some pinball, and there you have it.
I just feel for Louis Foster doing such a good job. He talked about not having a lot of practice last year and going straight into qualifying. He made it work for him on pole for both races.
Michael Andretti watches on as his two front row cars come together at the start of the race. And
Michael has lived that in recent history in IndyCar with teammates having some run-ins, unfortunately.
Foster has been fast every weekend, qualifying in the top 3, but has only one result so far. Second at IMS, first and 14th at St. Pete, third and 14th at Barber, pole, and finishing at the back here in round 4. Let's listen to some radio conversation.
Broke so early, man. Copy, yeah, you only hit the front wing, right? Looks like it's just the nose cone from the TV. Yeah, it feels fine. I think it was an attenuator. Yeah, copy. Obviously, stay out, stay out.
That's Hunter McElray saying he broke earlier than I expected. So while we have a moment, let's get into Kimball's keys. I think key number 1, yes, we've seen that, is appropriate.
I will say I wrote these before watching that start of the race, and it's about surviving. I talked to John Bruner of Able Motorsports and Bill Able, and they talked about getting to the end of the race today, knowing that there's going to be some challenges, some chaos, some contact. You got to survive the streets, and as rough and as bumpy and as narrow some of these sections can be, it's really about getting through the race. And this is a new venue. It's a new racetrack. We're back downtown in Detroit, so it's a clean slate for a lot of these cars. I wasn't sure if that was going to benefit teams like Andretti Autosport that have 4 cars, or HMD that have 9 different entries, or the smaller teams that don't have 15 years of experience. I think it's proving out the Andretti Autosport cars are pretty quick, the HMD cars are pretty quick, but at the same time, We'll see how it shakes out at the end of the race, because it's about surviving and taking advantage of a new venue.
The winner of the pole on the hook, Louis Foster's day is done. And Georgia, 2 other cars impacted at the start. You've got an update on one of them.
Absolutely. We saw Christian Rasmussen, points leader, come to pit lane, a new front nose assembly on his car. They took the left front off to assess suspension, but all good there. So they took the tire, put it back on, and he's rejoined the field.
At the back in 18th, Kiffin Simpson, we also saw on pit lane right in front of him in 17th. Big movers. Daniel Frost, who started in the back, moved up 5 spots. He is in 12th. James Rowe picked up 4 positions in that, well, not even a corner, really, just getting to the first corner. And he's running in 9th. Toby Sowery started at the back after a lot of issues in qualifying. He's up to 15th. Jacob Abel and Inam Ahmed also picked up 3 spots. So it's round 4, with round 5 coming up tomorrow. The first 3 races, Charlie, 3 different winners.
Usually by this point in the year, we've seen some separation. A driver has put their stamp on the year. You know, last year with Linus Lundqvist, year before, David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood throwing haymakers at each other all year long, but it started early. You could say they had elevated themselves above the rest of the pack. This year, 3 races, 3 winners. You see there, Daniel Frost, Christian Rasmussen, Matteo Nannini. We've yet to see an Andretti Autosport car win a race, which is atypical by this point of the year. I think it shows the elevation in the competitive level of the Indy NXT by Firestone. You see more cars with 19 entries. That's the most in quite a few years. And it has brought a lot of talent. Matteo Nannini coming back, you know, coming to Indy NXT on the path towards IndyCar, coming across to race in the U.S. All these different drivers working their way up through the ladder system towards IndyCar. Now they get to Indy NXT, and they're showing us that they belong. And that next crop of IndyCar drivers is right here in front of you.
We think we're going to see green next time by. This is the restart zone as well. So let's talk championship. You know, normally by this point, you start to get of a sense. And Christian Rasmussen up front is not surprising. We expected he and Hunter McElroy right there to be among the favorites, but McElroy's back in 5th. Siegel was impressed as a rookie, running 2nd in the championship. I still think it's 3, 4, 5 deep. That won't surprise me if they win this scholarship.
And like I said in the Open, Nolan Siegel has really impressed me, his consistency and speed. And you talk about those other drivers, everybody is showing that they can get the job done, which makes it a lot of fun to be here in the booth with you and talking with George on pit lane. And we get ready to go back to green here. It'll be interesting. The restart zone for the restart is between 1 and 2. So it'll be about launching out of turn 2 onto Jefferson Avenue, that long straight, and seeing how much of a jump Hunter McElroy can get. I know Reese Gold is looking for a good result behind it.
Remember, Reese Gold has switched over to HMD, started the season with Hukos Hollinger in the first 2 rounds, running 2nd in that yellow and black car. Back to green, McElroy with a great jump at the start.
Siegel coming out of turn 2, a great run on Reese Gold. We'll see if he pops to the inside or the outside here. Looks to the outside, it's bumpier on that side of the road.
So this battle for 2nd is going to be for the lead. It's a penalty coming, a stop and go for McElroy. So that battle for 2nd is going to be for the lead. Siegel trying to go the long way around. Gold hangs on to it. Now the challenge is for the ultimate 2nd position with Rasmus Lindh in one of the green and black cars right behind Nolan Siegel. The first green and black car is Siegel, then Rasmus Lindh. Those are 2 different teams, and they are going to be fighting it up front for podium positions because Hunter McElroy has been dinged for avoidable contact.
It's going to be a stop and hold here, stop and hold, box.
And the reason they're giving him a stop and hold is the pit lane is so short, and despite being on pit lane speed limiter, it's not a big enough penalty to just drive through pit lane. So they will stop him and send him back out.
That looked like a stop and go, not a stop and hold. There was no hold involved there.
We will see if that's what race control called for. We heard stop and hold, and the radio heard stop and hold. And here comes Nolan Siegel on Reese Gold. He wants the lead of this race.
Push to pass.
Stop and go was the call. This is for the lead. Gold in front. Siegel looking to the inside. Now the outside. Switch back and then contact for third.
Josh Green threw it up the inside into Rasmus Lind, who's rolling back as cars continue to cycle through. They will have to find reverse. I don't think the chaos is done here.
This is going to be the theme for the weekend. The IndyCar paddock is watching intently to see how this transpires. This is the best gauge. Yes, Trans Am is here. The Michelin Pilot Challenge is here as well, but this is the closest that you're going to see to Indy cars.
Reese Gold starting to find his feet, getting a little bit of a gap there from Nolan Siegel. We get a replay. So there's contact actually second back. Josh Green maybe just couldn't find the braking point on the bumps, gets into the left rear Rasmus Lind and turns him. Rasmus Lind, you've got to get to the apex like that. Josh Green just carried too much speed.
And look who's up in third behind this front two. It's Jagger Jones, the rookie who made the jump from the USF 2000 championship in his first year of Formula Car racing after spending some time in stock cars in that familiar old Calhoun paint scheme representing his grandfather, 1963 Indianapolis 500 winner Parnelli Jones. Up front, Reese Gold has gapped just a bit on Nolan Siegel.
Jagger Jones starting all the way back in 8th, coming up to 3rd, and we're hearing there will be a penalty for Josh Green, that avoidable contact on Rasmus Lind. He will get a drive-through through the pit lane.
He had already fallen back in the pack, so wasn't a contender up at the front at this point.
So in my conversation ahead of this race with the Able Motorsports crew, their advice to their drivers was keep it on the island, survive, and I know we're off Belle Isle. Looks like there's damage there as well. This race is not done yet. James Rowe with that front wing hanging off the number 29 Andretti Autosport car.
Well, you know you can have the possibilities of a real shakeup, so you've got the Cape Motorsports team running 3rd and 5th. Remember, this is after a decade away, their first season back at this level with 2 rookie drivers. Jacob Abel, who finished on the podium at St. Pete, is running in 4th right now. And then here we go again. Jamie Chadwick in that DHL car trying to go to the inside of Toby Sowery. Position there. Further back there side by side for the back of the grid. That's Christian Rasmussen trying to still make his way through, getting a spot on Christian Bogle.
I definitely watched that corner through my fingers because I figured there might be contact. Turn 3 has been a hot spot all day so far. I don't think it's done collecting cars or creating mayhem.
Daniel Frost has moved up to 8th position. Toby Sowery started in the back after a rough qualifying, has moved his way in contention for a top 10. Let's watch Jamie Chadwick again in that DHL Andretti car.
Defending on the inside, trying to hold the corner, and is able to do that following Ernie Francis Jr. through. Coming back off wrist surgery for Ernie, coming to a place like this, as bumpy as it is, and a doubleheader, having lived through that injury as well. It's myself. It's going to be hard. He's going to be sore tomorrow night. He's going to be glad for a weekend off next weekend.
And that's the thing. He's got another race coming up tomorrow. 45 laps or 55 minutes is the plan. Ernie Francis Jr. running in 9th right now. Jamie Chadwick right behind him. So that's the Force Indy HMD car and the DHL Andretti Autosport car. Green and white, Toby Sowery. Back in, remember, he's filling in for Josh Pearson, who is otherwise occupied, getting set for Le Mans coming up this weekend. Shrapnel coming off of cars. Damage from James Rowe.
It's that front wing of James Rowe. He is creating a little bit of a jammer car, a little bit of a pace car, although Ina Ahmed ahead of him is not really pulled away. James Rowe with that damage, he will be fighting more and more understeer as we continue to go. He will be taking life out of those Firestone front tires. If he's still able to get onto the straight quickly and draft off Ahmed ahead of him, he'll be able to hold on to his 6th place. But look at it grinding. You can see the smoke as it grinds that front wing. on Jefferson Avenue down to turn 3.
He's still taking a look, though, at Ahmed. Ahead of him, trying to get into the top 5, but that seems very perilous. Kaminsky is right behind him in the 57 yellow and black Able Motorsports car. They're running 4th and 7th right now.
I was talking to Colin yesterday, and he was looking forward to a little bit of a street fight. Not a whole lot of experience, but really excited to get out and see what this new track would look like. That Slick Lock branded 57 yellow and black car is doing well.
You need an adjustment.
And another yellow and black car up front. Reese Gold up by more than a second now on Nolan Siegel. Jagger Jones still running in 3rd. Let's check in with Georgia.
Yeah, and as Reese Gold leads the field, we caught up with team manager AJ Smith. This is only Reese's 2nd official weekend with the team. He seems to be gelling just fine. What's it been like welcoming him to the HMD camp?
Oh, it's been really good. We're glad to have Reese here with us. He did the Mid-Ohio test with us. I think he was P3 right out of the box, so he did a really good job for us. We had a rough weekend at Indy, but it looks like it's turning a corner for the good.
What are you noticing out of him today?
Well, right now, Andretti handed us a little bit, so that's good. And that's the advice we gave all our drivers, is don't create bad circumstances for yourselves. This racetrack is going to create bad circumstances, and Reese has just got to do 20-plus more laps with hitting his marks, not making any mistakes.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks for your time.
It's good perspective. Yeah, you had to know that something surprising might happen, so just make sure you stay clear. That is Kaminsky. I think they're in that Slick Locks car, slapped the wall a little bit, and he's off the pace. Francis is going to get by him, and so is Jamie Chadwick. Big trouble for Colin Kaminsky after a nice start to this race. He's going to roll into the pit lane.
I don't know if he got the right rear toe length, the right rear suspension, but every team rolling out to pit lane ahead of this race comes through 6, bangs hard on that right front, right rear, bring the car into pit lane and see if there's a tire going down or anything bent. These teams were rolling out to pit lane with lots of spares on all their pit cards. That's disappointing. They definitely stressed trying to keep it clean for all 45 laps today.
So that's going to allow Daniel Frost to pick up another position up in 7th. He is plus 10 on the day. Toby Sowery is plus 9 up front. Reese Gold leading the way.
So when it comes for 13 laps into this race, my driver of the day so far, Reese Gold leading, and an honorable mention for James Rowe Jr. holding onto that car without a front wing, hardly.
Yeah.
Reese Gold pulled out to almost a 2nd there over Nolan Siegel. Jagger Jones kind of running a lonely 3rd. He's got 6 seconds
We're just managing the gap, so we could use 3 seconds a lap.
It's good coaching to Reese Gold. You know, he's not been in this position yet in Indy NXT. Good coaching there on the radio, talking about 3 seconds a lap, a push to pass. Gives you a little extra horsepower, but it's limited. I think for all drivers, you'd ask for it to just be on all the time, but it's limited in the amount of time you can use it. So they're coaching him on how much he can use each lap to still have some at the end of the race.
Well, what's happening with Reese Gold right here is we see Bolga and Rasmussen still working at it a little further back in the pack for 13th and 14th. I mentioned the championship is wide open. Gold has finishes of 17th and 16th in rounds 2 and 3, finished 8th in the opener at St. Pete. But if this result stands, he's going to take a big jump in the championship. He would move all the way up to 5th, so it is way too early to make many predictions on who's going to be fighting when we get to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for another doubleheader at the end of the season. And Siegel running in 2nd, already has a pair of 2nd place finishes this year. He had a rough going at the road course in Indianapolis, finishing 13th, but he is in position to take over the championship lead as things stand right now.
This is great racing. These guys are all running really closely together. There's not a lot of extra racetrack here through the streets of Detroit. These guys are doing a really nice job. Trying to, wow, that was sideways. Late move, Toby Sowery on Jamie Chadwick. Whoa, it's not good when you see the side of the car in the brake zone before you even turn in for the corner.
But he got it done. I would say all good, no contact.
No contact.
Either way.
Clean. Hits the, oh. I wonder if he got on the brakes and thought, I got to run into the back of the car in front of me. I got to deke to the inside. Oh, I'll take the position. Thank you very much.
Or do you want to stay behind the car as long as you can to keep them from defending?
That's also a consideration. Jamie Chadwick tries to set up for the over-under.
Good job. Stay focused. Good job.
Team encouraging Toby Sowery to keep his head down, keep going forward. We talked about hit the wall 3 different times in qualifying yesterday. You know, he's up into the top 10, started last. This is a solid result. You know, we're a third of the way into the race and he's sliding those Firestones a little bit. We'll see if he's able to continue that forward march for the second 2/3.
And plus 10 on the day for Toby Sowery, beginning a big week. He is going to test an IndyCar for Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan at Sebring coming up on Thursday. Linus Lundqvist, last year's champion, is going to be in an Ed Carpenter racing car, so they'll get some comparison of what they can do in the summer heat at Sebring.
Linus Lundqvist already turning some laps in an IndyCar in Texas on their Super Speedway package for Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing as well.
I asked Sowery if this was in response to his podium at Barber, and he said no, it was really in the works. We'd been talking about this all year, but getting a good result did kind of help. We were talking about it. It was basically done, but not finalized until the last few weeks. And Toby said, actually, I was a little bit disappointed with my performance at Barber. He said, I didn't totally earn 3rd place. There was some attrition there that moved me up a few spots, but it was a good start to his return. He's filling in for Josh Pearson this weekend. He's got the end of the season weekend as well, a weekend coming up because of World Endurance Championship sports car conflicts for Josh Pearson. But there's still some hope of maybe funding some budget to do another race as Daniel Frost is trying to make his way around the outside of that wounded James Rowe car. Ernie Francis is there looking to pounce, thinking about Frost in that orange and white Denjet car. No change for position, but it's heating up. Ahmed is in that white and black Cape Motorsports car at the front of that pack, running in 5th.
I'm sure James Rowe's radioing the team saying, how many laps are left? 3, 5 maybe? There's still 20 some odd laps to go here for him. And he's got to hold on to that broken front wing the whole time.
Does that impact tire wear or anything else? Okay.
It will. With that damage to the front wing, losing that front downforce, you will be asking those Firestone front tires to do a lot more work. And as you get further and further into the race, you will just grind that rubber off. And despite him sliding the rear of the car there onto Jefferson Avenue, he is going to be hurting those front tires lap after lap. He did a great job defending there. Daniel Frost nearly got alongside in the brake zone, but going the long ways around is a lot harder than if you can steal the inside, even on a wounded car. And James Rowe's not falling off the back of Inam Ahmed ahead of him either.
That is a bit surprising, but I'd also say this. James Rowe's biggest fan is Ahmed right now. He wants to keep that train behind him, and he can continue to focus ahead on Jacob Abel. All right, we saw the other Abel Motorsports car slap the wall. Georgia has an update.
Yeah, Colin Kaminsky just rejoining the field, but it was a right rear toe link and a left front toe link changed on the 57 of Colin Kaminsky. Already this race we've seen carnage, and I know in the back of all of these teams' minds, especially the bigger teams like the HMD Motorsports and the Andretti's, they have to start getting worried a little bit about spare parts going into tomorrow as well. What do you think?
It's going to be on everyone's mind. Typically a doubleheader. Race 1 is a little more calm, cool, and collected. In race 2, everyone turns that aggression meter up higher and higher. We haven't seen that yet today. We've seen a little chaos and mayhem to start, although it's settling down now. It'll be interesting to see what the personality of the race tomorrow brings.
James Rowe still got pretty good pace. He's been able to keep up with Ahmed, who's been able to keep up with Abel. The front 3 have separated quite nicely. That's 4th right there that you're seeing, the red and white Abel construction car of Jacob Abel and the train behind him, but Abel's not holding anyone up. He's got a nice gap with Ahmed.
In my Kimball's Keys, I talked about it being a clean slate. It's not just for teams, it's for drivers as well. I'd like to point out that our podium at the moment is compiled completely of rookies. We have 3 rookies in the first 3 spots because they don't have experience here, and neither do the experienced drivers. I think that may play out over the course of the weekend, and especially the front 3 gapping this group with Jacob Abel and the train behind him.
Jacob Abel started 10th, running 4th. Let's listen to his radio from moments ago.
Awesome lap, awesome lap. Let's do that every time. You just gained over a second on that guy.
There you go, going as planned for Abel running in 4th. A little further back, Toby Sowry looking for positions. Kiffin Simpson still trying to wind his way through, had to make a trip to pit lane early on in the race. Christian Rasmussen still trying to find his way. And that 75 car is Matteo Nannini, the most recent winner, who was also mired back in traffic. He and Rasmussen battled up at the front last week, battling back in the pack this week.
Christian Bogle doing a nice job hanging on around the inside of the corner and then getting that position, holding through turn 4, 5, 6, and 7.
So it's going to continue to stay fierce throughout the pack from 4th on back. Meanwhile, up front, Reese Gold is maintaining his advantage, still just over a second on Nolan Siegel. Reese Gold is only 18 years old, but he's got, what, 4 years of experience in the IndyCar ladder system. A pair of seasons in USF 2000, a pair in USF Pro 2000, second in the championship last year with 4 wins with Hugo Heiliger. Started the season with them. A seat became open at HMD, and they were winning everything, so I'll take that, move on over. Race 1 did not go well, but Reese told me yesterday that we were a little disappointed with that, but it's also a transition, and the test, as AJ mentioned earlier, went very well, so we know it's coming, and it's certainly here this weekend.
Yeah, and Nolan Siegel, second in line there. I talked about it while we were talking about the grid. He's glad there's a weekend off next weekend because he graduates high school next weekend. And he was talking with Georgia about it, very excited about the chance to be able to attend his high school graduation, because I know, having been there years past, that if you have the chance, you go to high school graduation, but if there's a racetrack to be at, you go to the racetrack instead.
Reese Gold graduating high school, but he's already a pilot as he locks up a little bit right there. And this was just a lap or so ago. Watch that yellow and red DHL car trying to keep Kiffin Simpson behind Jamie Chadwick. Little tap in the back there. Yes. But she has got that gap back up, and now contact. Daniel Frost has the left front askew. So big problems for the biggest mover of the race. Frost had moved up to 7th, and that's significant damage to that left front for Daniel Frost. Winner in the street race at St. Pete to open the season. And has not had success since. 10th, 11th, and worse than that today. What happened? Look back in that orange and black car. He got into the back of James Rowe, I think.
James Rowe just fading over to get set up for the braking of turn 3. Daniel Frost not quite alongside, bounces off James Rowe's right rear and into the wall. Rips the left front off of Daniel Frost's number 68 Denjek car, and that will likely finish his day.
I couldn't tell. I thought at first maybe he even tapped Rowe before getting squeezed into the wall, but he certainly took significant damage after that, and Frost has had to climb from the car. And that race car needs to be prepared for tomorrow, and you can tell he did not care for how he was raced into the hairpin in turn 3. So caution number 2 at the midpoints. Back down to pit lane with Georgia.
Rob Edwards with Andretti Autosport. Rob, Hunter came over the radio after the incident with Louis Foster and said he might have thought the braking zone for Louis came a little bit early. What's your interpretation of the incident?
Well, it clearly didn't go like we rehearsed it, let's put it that way. It's super disappointing, right? I mean, you worked so hard to qualify on the front row like the 2 of them did. You know, disappointed for both of them. You know, once we get out of the race, we'll look at the data and understand exactly what happened. You know, obviously the idea was for Hunter to get behind Louis and protect him, and that part worked fine. But, you know, street circuits are difficult. You know, such a minute judgment call on what happens. And so we'll have to go look at the data and see what went wrong once the two of them were behind each other.
We just saw the contact between Daniel Frost and James Rowe. Were you able to take anything away from that?
Not yet. We'll go back and look at it. Again, right, it's street circuit racing. It's tough. But, you know, particularly for young drivers, this is a great, you know, great reminder that, you know, you got to keep your head right the way through the race. And, you know, it's a long race. It's hot. It's bumpy. And 45 laps. You've got to be on song for all 45 laps.
Thank you, Rob. Insightful. Thank you.
That's the best way that you can answer that at this point. You know, you've got driver on driver crime, so let's be delicate about this, but ultimately he is telling the truth. It needs to be reviewed, and we'll figure it out and try to make sure it does not happen again.
And he talked about it being street course racing, and I think we're going to see a lot of that, not just in tomorrow's Indy NXT race, but also in the IndyCar race. I mean, it is very often through these concrete canyons a street fight. You've got to have your elbows up, but I think there are a couple of people, especially in those first three positions, that were not excited about seeing that full course yellow flag come out. They had pulled out to quite a healthy gap, and now we'll have to try and rebuild that gap back. And anytime you have a restart, you're vulnerable.
Race control has reviewed the contact with Rowe and Frost. No action will be taken. James Rowe will be able to maintain his 6th place position on board with Christian Rasmussen, who started up near the front in 5th, right behind the contact with the front row. He had a little contact and had to roll through pit lane, so he's made up a few positions. So I don't know if the car is less than 100% or if it's just that difficult to make up positions, because he has moved forward with a pretty quick car. Up front, it's been Reese Gold who said, "Thank you very much. I'll inherit that lead." He and Nolan Siegel were racing for it after we knew the penalty was coming for McElray. Siegel looking for his 3rd second-place finish in 4 races, and Jagger Jones running in 3rd, his teammate from Cape Motorsports in 5th. This is not all that shocking. This team is moved up to the top level, and I wondered if a level playing field might even things out for Cape Motorsports.
And Jagger Jones' teammate and running 5th as well, as we hear a radio transmission from James Rowe with that broken front wing.
Great job, James. You're currently P6. How's the car? Yeah, it was damaged, but that's all right. We're much faster than the guys in front. Just can't pass. They used to push the pass down the back, so I'm stuck. Copy that.
And James Rowe would be looking at his 3rd consecutive solid result, 5th, 7th in the last 2 rounds.
That front wing just has to hang on for another 21 laps.
We'll go back to green this time around. They're back on the main straightaway here, but we're not going to do it here. This is a very short stretch between turns 9 and 1. That double file pit lane is just to their right. There's pit exit, which is going to be a point of conversation in the NTT IndyCar Series race coming up tomorrow. And we are ready to see green again. This is the zone. Exit of turn 2. This
Siegel got a great jump. Here he comes for the lead. It was an early green, early restart zone. Nolan Siegel pops to the outside.
For the lead. Siegel trying to go the long way around. It's a hairpin. Gold has the position. Jagger Jones waiting to pounce. No change there. Side by side a little further back. Chadwick and Sowery continue their battle. They're side by side for position. Sowery is going to prevail.
I thought Sowery was going to get into the back of Ernie Francis Jr. ahead of him, but he was able to tuck it in. Christian Bogle looking on Kiffin Simpson. That's clean. You don't often see 2 cars cleanly through there. 6 and 7's really tight.
Well done by Christian Bogle into the top 10 on Kiffin Simpson. This is a really challenging section here. Rasmussen makes another position up.
He's trying to recover from that early contact, now using the restarts to work his way through some of the cars he qualified ahead of.
Ernie Francis Jr. is working on James Rowe right now. Broken wrist and all, big slide, hangs on to it. Sowery trying to get the spot. Drag race coming into the hairpin. Sowery on the outside. Francis on the inside. And Francis is able to recover quickly and is right back on the gearbox. Up row in front of him.
Kevin Simpson missed the apex there, slid way past the apex in turn 3. Ernie Francis Jr. not quite close enough, or excuse me, Christian Rasmussen not quite close enough to capitalize on it. This is great racing through the streets of Detroit.
Chadwick doing a great job still in 9th right there, and Christian Bogle challenging in 10th. Let's watch James Rowe again, sliding through with Francis, working on him.
And I don't know if he had contact with the center wall, but when he gets to the power, that thing steps out. And with a limited mobility, as he's recovering on his wrist injury from surgery just a couple weeks ago, he may not be as fast catching the car with that steering wheel through the apex. Coming up to turn 2 again, we'll see if he gets a good run this time to pass James Rowe into turn 3.
Ernie Francis Jr. was tied for 4th in the championship after the first 2 rounds, but had to miss round 3, ending for now any momentum to stay up near front, but he's having a solid run again today. All 3 have been inside the top 10, running 7th, thinking about 6, trying to go the long way around this hairpin. Maybe an over-under is an opportunity. Bogle is trying to continue to move forward, and he's got another spot up to 9th on Jamie Chadwick.
These guys all looking for every little bit of grip they can find on the streets out of those Firestone tires, especially with 17 laps to go. Those tires will start to lose a little bit. Their hands will get even busier through this concrete canyon.
That's 4th on back. Jacob Abel with Inam Ahmed right behind him. This is the lead group. 1, 2, 3, pretty close. Gold, Siegel, Jones, then the gap back to Abel. Bogle goes wide. Sowery's going to try to get a spot there. Not enough.
That's Christian Bogle up to 8th in that HMD car. A great result.
And Francis just got by Rowe. Ernie Francis Jr. is up to 6th. Here's Kiffin Simpson trying to go to work on the DHL car of Jamie Chadwick.
2, 3 wide down the straight. Does Toby Sowery have a problem? He keeps falling further and further back.
Drivers kept telling me, you can't pass here. You can pass here.
Toby Sowery dropping to the end of the line there. Maybe with a problem. We'll see if he comes into pit lane this time.
Sowery has already fallen back. He had a big charge from the back, well beyond the mid-pack, but that's gone away.
Since the beginning of this race, Christian Bogle's been your biggest mover. He's up 10 spots since the start. We go back to the front 3. Reese Gold doing a good job managing that pressure from Nolan Siegel behind him.
Well, and how about Jagger Jones behind? Finishes of 18th, 12th, and 14th. I talked with Jagger on the track walk right here, actually, as we walked down from turns 2 to 3, and I said, you know, we all knew this was going to be a learning process. Is it going okay? He said, no, I've got high expectations. I really expected a little bit more out of myself, but he had a lot of optimism coming into this one as we see Sowery parked on pit lane now.
That looks like an electronics or some other mechanical failure, not from contact, so that'll be frustrating. Sounds like they've got an issue with the engine in that car, and that's disappointing. He had a great run going, managed to pick his way through some of the challenges ahead of him, take spots, and then to have something like that knock him out, that'll sting.
Jagger Jones there running in 3rd, finished 2nd in the NASCAR Menard Series West in 2019. Last year made the jump over to this type of racing, running for Cape Motorsports in the USF 2000 Championship, got a win, was the top rookie, skipped a level, moved up, understanding it's going to be at least a 2-year process, but he's more mature. He's 20 years old. He's a college student in the Charlotte area, moved down there when he was pursuing NASCAR, but he's dealt with high horsepower cars before, and he is showing good pace. Meanwhile, further back on board with Christian Rasmussen, and Kiffin Simpson has a run on him.
And there goes Hunter McElroy taking advantage of Kiffin Simpson. James Rowe continuing to defend with that broken front wing. Bogle almost out to the wall. I don't think he quite got there, but it was darn close. Rasmussen locking up, everyone sliding around. Hunter McElroy trying to find a way past Kevin Simpson. That is not the place to do it. Do they all come through? Whew.
This is indeed a concrete canyon.
And again, I talked about the elevation. Look how much it's downhill out of that 6-7 chicane down here all the way to 8. It really is impressive to see the layout here with so much elevation on a street circuit. You just don't see that. The streets of Long Beach, St. Pete, Toronto, very little elevation.
Let's watch this again. How close do you like it?
That's about as close as you can get without leaving a mark.
All good for Christian Bogle, who is plus 10 from his start. In 8th right now. 7th, his best finish on the season. And last year, on the other Detroit circuit, was his best finish of 4th in the first half of the doubleheader at Belle Isle. Here's Reese Gold. Siegel is still there. This is far from over.
Siegel has a fast lap that's just half a tenth quicker than Reese Gold. So it's really close. Nolan Siegel's just keeping the pressure on Reese Gold. We've seen this out of Nolan in the past. He just runs consistently quick and waits, and if there's no mistake, he takes what the race gets and gives him as far as a result. But if he can pressure the driver in front of him into a mistake, he's ready to pounce.
So how aggressive do you want to get if you're Nolan Siegel at this point?
Managing your car and your push to pass, doing a great job.
You really want to get that first Indy NXT win, but he's in position to take over the championship lead. Consistency might be what wins this championship.
I mean, if a high school student's running an Indy NXT car through the streets of Detroit and thinking about the championship standings, he's going to be a future IndyCar star.
He is right there. He's cut that lead from over a second down to 0.4 of a second.
But again, this is a section of the track you can't really pass. Reese Gold can be a little more consistent and hold on, let it just ride a little bit, knowing that he can't pass through this section. Reese Gold just knows he has to get a great exit out of turn 2 to protect himself.
Siegel is right there now.
Don't have to do it into 3 either. You can surprise people. A lot of passes into 1 right now.
Good information, and this is 1 right here. Not this time, but the most straightforward opportunity is coming here. The run out of 2 is going to be critical. Is Siegel going to be there? Is he close enough to be able to use the draft and pounce? 12 laps to go. Debut race, downtown Detroit. Nolan Siegel trying to find some room on Reese Gold, not close enough into the hairpin this time. While we watch this, let's check in with Georgia.
Daniel Frost, an unfortunate ending to your day, but Daniel, we were just chatting, and you do believe there was room for 2 there. What could have been done differently from your perspective to avoid that contact?
I don't think I could have done anything differently, really. I mean, you're not supposed to move under braking, and, you know, he should have picked a spot where he was going to brake, and I chose the outside, and I guess he wasn't using his mirrors or something and kind of run me off into the wall, and that was it for my race. You know, we were doing well till that point, but it's unfortunate that it happened.
It is an unfortunate ending. Daniel Frost.
We've heard a lot of radio communications to both Nolan Siegel and Reese Gold about how to use and when to use their push-to-pass. And that push-to-pass system is a button on the steering wheel the drivers have control of that you can turn on when you're at full throttle. It gives you an additional 50 horsepower. It's limited. You can't use it the whole race, but you have 150 seconds total for the race, and you can only use 15 per push.
Thinking about it here, is he close enough? Looks to the outside. Gold will stay tight.
Just keeping the pressure on, though, isn't it? He's making sure Reese Gold is looking in his mirrors, thinking about it. There's a car behind, Nolan's behind, Nolan's behind. Nolan's just letting him know he's always there, and if he makes a mistake, he's ready to take it.
And what I'm wondering, if you're Nolan Siegel at this point, is that the strategy? Don't really push the issue. Let's make it more straightforward. Let's just stay close, make him use up the Firestones, and get him late in the race where he doesn't have a chance to react.
And it will come down to how much push to pass each of these drivers.
Gold will run out of push to pass in the next 5 laps.
So that's information to Nolan Siegel. Hey, the guy in front of you, he's a little heavy on the button. Just keep pushing him. Make him use that up, and then you can pounce when he has nothing to defend with.
Well, here's the advantage that Siegel has. He's got the draft, so he's got natural push to pass, essentially, in this long straightaway, and he's right there. Siegel taking a look. He's going to swing outside, side by side into the hairpin. Turn 3 for the lead in Detroit. Gold on the inside, wheel to wheel, maintains the position.
Jagger Jones is thinking, yeah, you guys end up in trouble. I'll take that spot. Just let you guys scrap it out. That was the closest we've seen from Nolan Siegel yet this race.
And Jones back there in third has a nice gap on Jacob Abel of 2.5+ seconds. There's Jagger Jones coming through in third, so he is hoping for a kerfuffle in front of him.
And Jacob Abel still a little worried behind about Ernie Francis Jr. What a great job Ernie's doing with that damaged wrist. Just a couple weeks out from surgery, you know, having broken my hand and had surgery and gotten in a race car at a street circuit just 10, 11 years ago. I remember how painful those bumps were on that hand. Ernie's, I'm sure he's not feeling it now, especially as he's chasing down Jacob Abel for hopefully a 4th place result.
Ernie Francis Jr. is up to 5th. He's got by Ahmed, and he's chasing down Jacob Abel at this point. This is impressive by Ernie Francis Jr. A little more than a month after wrist surgery, coming off of missing the round at IMS in mid-May. Ernie Francis Jr. is running in 5th. He had some good results last year, but this would be his best. 7th at St. Pete on the streets, 8th 3 different times. And to start this season, finishes of 6th and 8th. Back to the front, Gold still half a car length or so in front of Siegel. Mid-pack, McElray is trying to salvage a day.
Here, Gold has 20 seconds remaining. 20 seconds remaining for Gold, 8 laps to go. He's using 10 a lap.
Jones made up some pace on that lap. Running in third. Further back here, you're going to see McElray, who started on the front row. Contact, you see the damage to the nose. Stop and go penalty, but he's come from the back up to 9th.
That front wing does not look healthy either. There may be a little bit of damage on that front wing.
Go.
Complaining about asking how many laps to go.
8 to go.
That front wing is askew from that initial contact.
You think he's hoping the race ends soon, or is he hoping for longer because
Nope.
I'm coming forward, I want more time to make up more spots?
Well, as that front wing gets worse and worse, I think he's going to be hoping it ends soon. As a driver, you always want more laps to go forward.
He might be just satisfied and made it up to 9th. That might be about as good as we could go. Rasmussen also has managed to pick up a few spots after he had contact early. He's right in front of him in 8th, and there's that damaged front wing that has been hanging on. But James Rowe has dropped from running in 6th, now back to 10th. He's got Jamie Chadwick and Kiffin Simpson right behind him. Up front, there's 3rd place Jagger Jones in the Total Sim Mecum Auctions Cape Motorsports car. And ahead, the green and black, number 39 of Nolan Siegel, Menlo Ventures, Carbon. And peeking to the outside, another run for the lead into turn 3. Siegel trying to go the long way around. Gold has the preferred spot, still side by side.
Siegel's got the line into turn 4, gets it done.
Siegel to the lead in Detroit.
What a move. The long ways around in turn 3, takes the inside line into turn 4, gets his elbows up, and takes the lead from Reese Gold. And Reese Gold, great job to give it up when he knew he didn't have the spot anymore. He will take 2nd rather than be in the wall.
Great battle by a pair of 18-year-olds about ready to graduate high school, fighting for a win on the streets of Detroit just moments ago.
And the difference this lap to the other is Siegel gets a little bit ahead so he can hold Reese Gold to the inside, not get run so far wide. Then he has the preferred line into turn 4. Do you see how busy his hands are in the cockpit there? Reese Gold, nothing he can do about it, and smart enough to give up the position and take the points.
Really well done by both, showing that you can race side by side through 3 and get it sorted out by the time you get to 4. A little further back, Francis is working on Abel for 4th.
6 laps to go, and those 3 rookies up front showing how cleanly you can race through the streets of Detroit.
This might be a breakthrough performance for Ernie Francis. It seems appropriate that Trans Am is here this weekend. The 7-time champion was dominant in that series, but this is totally different. Had a little bit of Formula experience in an F3 series a couple of years ago. Thrown into the deep end here last year. It was difficult at times. Year 2, we're seeing progress, and Ernie Francis Jr. is inside the top 5 and wanting more.
He's up 9 spots from where he started. Don't forget, he still has a broken wrist. It's just pinned together. He's got a custom brace on his hand that they worked on the steering wheel to get that brace to match the grip on the wheel so that he can hold on. You know, there are 5 laps to go, and he's just getting better as this race goes on. And Jagger Jones may be looking at Reese Gold as well as Ernie Francis pops out heading into turn 3.
He'd have to go the long way around again.
There's a yellow.
And a yellow.
There's a local yellow for a car there, so unable to get the pass done.
Josh Green looks like he might be, is he a little bit disabled there in front? That
just letting the pack go through, yep.
So we will not have to go full course caution because Green is still under power, but he's trying to get out of the way, and it is very difficult through this next section.
There is nowhere to hide on these streets. He does a good job of moving over, getting out of the way of the pack, and Reese Gold starting to fall back into the clutches of Jagger Jones in 3rd. You know, there's great racing throughout the field here.
And right here is where we are going to see the finish. On that short main straightaway. That's Abel in 4th, the red and white car. Francis in the Force Indy HMD car, still chasing. Good battles behind Ahmed and Bogle. What a run for Christian Bogle, thinking about moving up to 6th back there.
Ernie Francis not quite close enough to get a move done this lap. He had such a great run the lap before, but it was yellow and he couldn't make that pass into turn 3. Christian Bogle, what a great job. He's moved up 11 spots today. Our hard charger going to Christian Bogle at the moment.
And he's within striking distance of Ahmed. You see Colin Kaminsky is multiple laps down as Francis is going to get the move done on Jacob Abel. Ernie Francis Jr. in the 4th.
That is not a place you pass, making the move down into turn 8. Great job. Ernie Francis has 3 laps left to go on that injured wrist. What a great result. They talk about getting the monkey off your back. I feel like Ernie might have gotten the monkey off his back and more today.
When I spoke to him yesterday, he, I think, was confident it was going to be a go, but he said, we'll see. I've only got about 70 or 80% mobility, so we'll see how it goes. Let's watch this again for 4th on Jacob Abel.
So Abel defends to the inside, that's his right. Ernie throws it in there, locks up, slides, gets the car woed down, gets through the corner and takes the position.
That's a great way to describe it. He threw it in there and it stuck. And he's gapped a little bit. Leader up front is also gapped. Nolan Siegel by 3.5 seconds on Reese Gold. Jagger Jones isn't done yet with 2.5 laps to go. Already set for a podium position, looking for a little bit more.
Nolan Siegel faster than Reese Gold by over half a second in the last 2 laps.
Nolan Siegel finished 4th in the Indy Pro, now USF Pro 2000 Championship last year with 6 podiums and a couple of wins. He's done some sports car racing, including in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which is racing here this afternoon. But the goal is to get to IndyCar. He's finished 2nd twice in his 3 Indy NXT races and can go 1 better today. Jones getting closer. Who has push to pass remaining? Who has life in their Firestones with a little over a lap remaining? Will Jones be content to just settle for third in what by far has been his best result here on the big stage, one step below IndyCar?
And don't count out Ernie Francis. Ernie Francis Jr. was 9/10 of a second faster than Jagger Jones as they come to the white flag. This is the finish line and where they will see the checkered next time by.
Just a little more than a mile and a half to go in Motown, in the shadow of the Renaissance Center. Jones is right there. This is the best battle on the track, but one of several.
If Jagger Jones has any push to pass left, he's using it now.
Heading to turn 3. Jones in that classic paint scheme. He got to drive his grandfather's car before the Indianapolis 500 last week and might be able to celebrate that experience with a podium in Indy NXT. He's not going to get Reese Gold right there. Francis still making up time.
Nolan Siegel, though, disappearing up the road with a 5-second gap coming to the checker.
We watch second and third. Siegel, meanwhile, coming into turn number 8.
Does he have a problem?
He's got a problem. Is he slowing?
We lost the gearbox.
He lost the gearbox.
He's just got to get around the next corner.
One more corner to go. Gold sweeping around.
No.
Coasting to the line. Reese Gold is going to steal a win in Detroit. Jagger Jones second. Ernie Francis on the podium. And heartbreak for Nolan Siegel. He was 2 corners away from his first win. And a mechanical takes him out of the win and out of the championship lead. Oh.
You could see the heartbreak there. He disappeared 5 seconds up the road. The car lets him down 2 corners to go. And Reese Gold wins the Indy NXT by Firestone Detroit Grand Prix Race 1. Jagger Jones comes home second. Ernie Francis Jr., what a breakthrough result in third.
Races like this create surprises, to say the least. So in some ways, no surprise that we are surprised. And I suspect we'll see more of the same in this series tomorrow and in IndyCar tomorrow as well. Qualifying, by the way, is coming up in just a few minutes here on Peacock for the NTT IndyCar series, so stay with us for that. Let's watch. That's turn 8, pit entrance, 1 more corner to go. He had a 5-second lead halfway through the final lap. Trying to coax that car to coast home.
They were coaching him on the radio. Don't touch the brake. The drive shaft on the left rear is broken. So he's only getting drive through the gearbox on the right side.
So did that break just from the nature of the track and the bumps? Did he make contact with something slightly? Oh.
Heartbreak for Nolan Siegel. Man, I think the bumps on the track are going to be the victim of that.
So Reese Gold had him all the way, led most of the way, gave up the lead late to Nolan Siegel and inherits the win. The soon-to-be high school graduate has won in Indy NXT for the first time. His best finish before today, 8th.
Jagger Jones, that great result in the number 98 Old Calhoun looking Cape Motorsports car. Cape Motorsports moving back up to this series. Great result for them. And Ernie Francis Jr., I can't talk about his damaged wrist nearly enough. I've been there. I know how painful it is, especially on the bumps of a racetrack like this.
Some that had rough starts salvaged some things today, with McElray coming home in 7th, Rasmussen in 9th. Let's check out how the championship stands. And Christian Rasmussen stays in front. Siegel was going to be the championship leader, but by coming home in 8th instead of 1st, it's a 15-point deficit, and Jacob Abel has moved up to 3rd in the championship. And how about that? Reese Gold plus 10 with a win today.
I mean, I guess that's the only consistent thing, is the inconsistency we've seen from results and points, championships, ups and down all year long.
You want drama? We have drama. What a day. Here's what is still to come. Probably a few minutes on the delay for IndyCar qualifying. That is coming up right after we're done here on Peacock. Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell are standing by and ready. And also here on Peacock, Diff and Calvin Fish and Dave Burns will have Michelin Pilot Challenge racing with IMSA. That will be unique and interesting too today after 4 o'clock. The warm-up tomorrow in IndyCar. The second half, you want more? We got it. Indy Next tomorrow at 12:40. And then NBC has your coverage of the IndyCar Detroit Grand Prix for the first time back downtown since the late 80s. Reese Gold has made it back to the pit lane in the Ticket Clinic car with HMD Motorsports.
Victory Circle is out here on Hart Plaza by the Riverwalk here in Detroit.
Right. Yeah,
so they're stopped between turn 7 and turn 8. I think Georgia's made her way there from pit lane. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to Reese. And he's, like I said, he was discretion the better part of valor when Nolan Siegel went by him. Didn't fight it, didn't end up in the wall. And you never know what's going to happen, especially on a street circuit.
Well, there's an early graduation gift.
He is jumping out of the car, a winner on the streets of Detroit, Reese Gold. He'll join me around the front of this yellow machine. I assume just a roller coaster of emotions today, but nonetheless ended up in victory lane. Was today just a testament of it's not over until it's over? Walk us through this roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, well, first off, I don't know what happened to Nolan, but that sucks for them. They ran a great race, but that either way, it's been so long. I know I've had the results, but I just wanted to show, and either way, it was a great result. So super happy to get my first win. Thank you to the Ticket Clinic and everyone at HMD. They've done an amazing job. So I'm just, never give up. That was a crazy ending.
He got it done today right here on the streets of Detroit with the Indy Next by Firestone, Reese Gold.
That was a noteworthy day, to say the least. And we're going to try again tomorrow. A lot of work done by crews to get cars prepared tomorrow. And we've got IndyCar qualifying coming up in just a moment. Can we do better tomorrow?
I think it'll be full of drama just like today.
Ernie Francis Jr. on the podium for the first time. Same for Jagger Jones and a first-time winner. Congratulations. Reese Gold is a winner in Indy Next by Firestone.